The words landed like a judge's gavel, sharp, final, impossible to ignore. For a heartbeat, time froze. Mrs. Peterson's jaw dropped so far she nearly swallowed her peppermint lozenge. Sarah's phone never wavered, but her eyes grew so wide you'd think she was live streaming a UFO landing. Even Frank, who already knew Patricia's secret, stood straighter, as if his spine had just been ordered to attention. But Brenda? Brenda looked like a cartoon villain caught with the dynamite still in her hands. Her pointing finger froze mid-accusation. The folder slipped from her manicured fingers, exploding into a storm of papers that fluttered across her perfect lawn like legal confetti. Her lips worked soundlessly, gasping like a fish out of water, producing nothing but squeaks. Your Honor, she finally croaked, voice cracking under the weight of her own disbelief. Judge Patricia Blackwood. Colorado Municipal Court. Patricia's reply was calm, precise, and devastating. She extended her dirt-streaked hand to Officer Ray, who shook it with the kind of respect you only give someone who could sign your paycheck or sentence you to community service. The murmurs started low, then built like rolling thunder. Gasps. Nervous laughter. Whispered exclamations. It was the sound of a crowd suddenly realizing this wasn't just neighborhood drama anymore. They'd been watching David versus Goliath all along, except this David wore judicial robes under her gardening gloves. Ray turned slowly back to Brenda, every ounce of patience hanging on his next words. Ma'am, he said evenly, are you officially filing a complaint that a municipal court judge is gardening in her own yard? The question hit like a wrecking ball. Brenda's face went through more shades than a malfunctioning traffic light, red, pale, blotchy, greenish. Her carefully sculpted authority melted right there on the sidewalk. She can't, I'm the HOA, my authority, she sputtered, words tangling like cheap Christmas lights. And then Frank stepped forward. Not angry. Not flustered. Just steady, commanding. His veteran's voice carried like a drill sergeant's order. Officer. This woman has been stealing money from our neighborhood for 2 years. The effect was nuclear. Neighbors leaned in closer. Phones went higher. Brenda's empire, built on intimidation and bluff, suddenly looked like a house of cards in a hurricane. The collapse came faster than anyone expected. Within 48 hours of Ray's impromptu arrest, Brenda had resigned from every HOA board she touched, not just here, but across 4 entire communities. Her empire of control vanished overnight. Her lawsuit against Patricia? Dismissed with prejudice. Translation, the judge didn't just throw it out, they padlocked the door and nailed a warning sign above it. And then the Attorney General's office swooped in like hawks circling prey. Turns out, during election season, nobody wants headlines about a suburban tyrant stealing from retirees. The charges stacked higher than Brenda's HOA fines. Theft. Fraud. Filing false police reports. By the end of it, her lawyer looked like he wanted to crawl under the table. Her sentence? 3 years probation, full restitution to every homeowner she wronged, and a lifetime ban from ever sitting on an HOA board in Colorado. The restitution checks were sweet. Watching her perp walk in handcuffs, with reporters shouting questions? That was downright delicious. But Frank still swore the real victory came months later, when his tomatoes won first prize at the county fair, a symbol that life was finally blooming again. That October, we held the first real HOA election in living memory. Actual ballots. Actual notice. Actual democracy. Gone were the days of Brenda's, all in favor while I'm not looking, sham. Frank was elected president in a unanimous vote, though he grumbled the whole time that he never wanted the job. Sarah became treasurer, mostly because she was the only one under 60 who understood Excel formulas without a 3-hour tutorial. But the real victory came with the money. The recovered $34,000, plus interest, wasn't just numbers on paper, it was transformation. We built a community garden on land Brenda once tried to weaponize. Rows of basil, tomatoes, lavender, and Patricia's wildflowers filled the air with sense of renewal. Neighbors worked side by side, laughing, planting, sharing tips. For the first time in years, the soil belonged to everyone. Frank donated part of his pension to start the Willowbrook Educational Scholarship. Already, 3 local kids have received it, including Sarah's daughter, who now dreams of becoming a civil rights attorney. She says she learned the meaning of justice right there, watching her mom stand tall against petty tyranny. Exactly 1 year later, we celebrated with the Willowbrook Wildflower Festival. Patricia's garden, once the battleground of Brenda's crusade, now stood as the crown jewel. Children ran laughing between booths. Bluegrass music mingled with the aroma of smoked barbecue. Frank manned the grill, his military-grade ribs sending waves of smoky perfection 3 blocks down. Neighbors who once hid from Brenda's clipboard tyranny now swapped recipes, shared cuttings, and danced barefoot on the grass. Elderly couples planted memorial flowers without fear of violation notices. Kids chalked the sidewalks with superheroes, dragons, and flowers bigger than life. Patricia's wildflower garden became so iconic it was declared a state landmark. Colorado Gardening magazine featured it on the cover. University researchers studied it for native plant restoration. The irony? Brenda's so-called property value destruction boosted home values by 15% across the neighborhood. Her downfall sparked reform beyond our cul-de-sac. The legislature passed the Thornfield Accountability Act, strengthening HOA oversight across Colorado. And Patricia? She now speaks at judicial conferences nationwide, reminding her peers that justice isn't abstract. It's practical. It's local. And sometimes, it's rooted in soil. And Brenda? She slunk off to Arizona, where, rumor has it, she's already been written up for pool violations and verbally assaulting maintenance staff. Some people don't change, they just move zip codes. But here's what matters: always demand proof your HOA has filed the state paperwork before handing over a dime. Document everything: photos, timestamps, certified mail. It's your shield against manufactured lies. Watch for discriminatory enforcement. If it's selective, it can trigger federal investigations faster than you think. And above all, every community needs a Frank, someone who won't bow, won't bend, and won't be bullied by anyone waving a clipboard like it's a crown. Your HOA horror stories matter. They aren't just complaints, they're warnings. Drop your worst nightmare in the comments below. We read every single one, and the wildest may appear in future episodes. Subscribe to HOA Stories and hit that notification bell if you believe good neighbors always outlast petty tyrants. And don't miss next week's tale: the parking enforcer who tried to ticket the new city transportation director's car while she was standing right there. Spoiler, it did not end well for him. Community justice tastes sweeter than Patricia's wildflower honey. And that's saying something. You've been watching HOA Stories, where entitled Karens get reality checks. If this episode gave you secondhand rage or sweet satisfaction, smash that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and stick around. Because suburban justice? We've only just begun.